kept me alive inside had nothing to do with age. It was curiosity. People often ask me if I was afraid of getting older. And the honest answer is no. Not because I'm brave, not because I'm special, and certainly not because I haven't had my share of challenges. It's because I've spent most of my life asking a different question. Instead of, what if this goes wrong? I've usually asked, I wonder what would happen if I tried. That question has carried me a long way. I might add here, I'm sure my children thought, there goes my mom again. What the heck is she up to? Love you, boys. Now let me be clear right away. This is not a story about accomplishments. It's not a list of impressive things, and it's definitely not a lecture about how you should be living your life. It's simply a reflection on something I've noticed after many decades of living, trying, failing, laughing, and trying again. Curiosity kept me alive inside. And I don't mean busy, I mean alive. There's a big difference. When I reached different stages of my life, retirement included, I didn't sit down and ask, what am I allowed to do now? I asked, what looks interesting? Sometimes the answer was sensible. Sometimes it was slightly ridiculous. And sometimes it just didn't work out at all. But here's the part people don't talk enough about. Even when something didn't work, it did work. It gave my mind somewhere to go. I think many people believe that purpose has to be something grand, a calling, a mission, a 5-year plan. But for me, purpose often arrived in much smaller clothing. It showed up as curiosity, as interest, as that quiet nudge that says, I wonder if I could. So I followed that nudge, not aggressively, not heroically, just willingly. And no, I didn't always succeed. Sometimes I learned that, I didn't even enjoy the thing nearly as much as I thought I would. Sometimes I discovered I wasn't particularly good at it at all. And sometimes I learned that while the idea was fascinating, the reality wasn't so much. In those cases, I did something very freeing. I kicked the can aside and went looking for the next shiny and interesting thing. No drama, no shame. Well, truthfully, maybe a cuss word or two. Well, it only lasted a minute or so. But soon the next adventure idea would somehow mysteriously, before my eyes, it would appear. Then those words would pop into my mind. I wonder, and I'd be off again. I've noticed that as people get older, like many conversations begin to circle around what hurts, what doesn't work anymore, and what's been lost. And to be fair, aches and pains are real, especially since we age. Bodies change, energy changes. I'm not pretending otherwise. But I've also noticed something else. The moment curiosity leaves the room, everything starts to feel heavier. When people stop wondering, no matter what age, stop exploring, stop asking, what if? Life can quietly shrink, not because of age, but because of focus. If all your attention goes towards what's wrong, your world gets very small and very quickly. Curiosity does the opposite. Curiosity doesn't require health, youth, money, or talent. It only requires permission. And permission is something we can give ourselves at any age. Now, I want to say this because it matters. Curiosity doesn't mean doing what I did. It doesn't mean learning instruments, singing, technology, or anything else. That's not the point. The point is movement, mental movement. Curiosity might look like wondering how something works, trying a new way of doing an old thing, asking a question you've never asked before, simply refusing to let your inner world go stale. It doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to be alive. One of the reasons humor has always mattered so much to me is because it loosens things. I remember a gentleman friend, no longer a friend, said to me, now I should say this, when he said that I weighed about 200 pounds, "Liz, I love to see you laugh because so much of you has such a good time." Need I say more? When I can laugh even quietly, I know there's hope and more adventures ahead. Humor creates space, and space is where curiosity likes to live. I've learned not to take my attempts too seriously. If I try something and it doesn't work, well, I don't turn it into a personal failure. I turned it into a story, and I have tons of them. And if nothing else, stories are useful. Life has never asked me to be perfect. It's only ever invited me to participate. And that invitation doesn't expire. I think we do people a disservice when we frame aging as something that it needs to be managed somehow, coped with, or even endured. For me, aging has been more about editing, less noise, less nonsense, more interest, more honesty, more freedom to say, that doesn't interest me, and just as really, ooh, that does. I've never felt the need to wait until I felt ready. Readiness is overrated. Curiosity doesn't wait for readiness. It just asks for a little openness and a willingness to look foolish now and then. And yes, that does mean occasionally discovering that something you were excited about, it just isn't your thing after all. That's not failure. That's information. So if you're listening to this and thinking, well, that's all very nice, but my life doesn't look like that, let me say this clearly. This isn't about copying a life. If you copied my life, you'd probably be as nutty as I am. No, it's about choosing an orientation. You can face forward with curiosity, or you can face inward with worry. Both are understandable, but only one feels light. And no, curiosity doesn't make problems disappear, but it does change how much space they take up. When your mind has somewhere to go, problems don't get to be the whole story. I don't know what the next interesting thing will be for me. I never have. Right now, I'm so enjoying trying to maneuver this YouTube adventure. That's part of the fun. Curiosity. It doesn't ask for guarantees. It just asks for a little room to wander. So maybe the question isn't, what should I be doing at my age? Maybe it's simply, what still makes me wonder? That question has never failed me. One day while watching YouTube, the thought crossed my mind. If I had the nerve to put my face in front of millions of people. See how I think? Millions. Well, okay, maybe a few. As it turns out, very few. Well, I thought, well, I guess I'll never know. I wonder. Was it daunting? Of course. But I always think, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? But then again, what's the best thing that can happen? a great question to ask yourself. Usually, what's the worst that can happen never does, but so much more than you could ever dream of can happen when you think of all the good things that could happen. I should share, my mom always said that I was born squawking and asking questions and never stopped, even with her pleading. But I ask, how can you learn if you're not curious about what's going on? Or what's next? Curiosity is patient. It has a way of, tapping you on the shoulder when you least expect it. Might I suggest you try being inquisitive and taking action? I hope you've been as blessed as I have to look at life with the same inquisitiveness as a young child. When you have no answers at the moment, but think, I wonder. And if you're curious enough to see what I might have to say next, please click on the subscribe and the like buttons. Thank you so much for sharing this moment in time with me. All the best. Take care. Keep smiling. Love ya. Until the next time. Bye for now.